Hey, my name is Yolanda, and welcome to Frank Factualities, the podcast. Tune in each week as I speak frankly about life experiences from my perspective and offer you a bit of unsolicited advice. Let's take a little time to laugh, to think, and to cry as we tackle some serious topics and some not so serious topics. Be sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Welcome to Frank Factualities, the podcast. My name is Yolanda. Thank you for tuning into my show for another week and joining me for another episode. If this is your first time, again, welcome. And if you are joining me on YouTube, hey, how you doing? It is awkward for me if you're on YouTube to be staring at and looking at myself, but bear with me through this. If you guys are my returning listeners, why y'all ain't tell me I didn't do my little intro audio last time? I was listening back to the thing like, why is the music playing so long? Well, I forgot to hit the button. So as I adjust through my post-vacation woes, because I'm not feeling the fact that I'm back at work and everything is regular now, like I'm back on a routine, I am not together, so just bear with me as I get together. And I realized when I was telling you all that my internet was lagging, that I had to figure out what it was. Well, I use a platform called StreamYard, and so even though you can record just with a regular camera, and obviously you wouldn't need Wi-Fi, I don't have a regular camera, so I have a webcam. And of course, the webcam is attached to my computer. And through StreamYard, I record because it's just much easier for me to edit in StreamYard and easy to upload to YouTube. If you've ever uploaded a regular video to YouTube, it takes a very long time, which is why I wasn't as consistent with it before. So I've been trying to find consistent ways of doing it, or better ways, I should say. And so this way is easy. It's just I can edit, but not as well as I would like to, but also the upload part of it is easy. So again, just bear with me as I go through all of these growing pains. I am not afraid to fall on my butt, mess up, sound like a fool, look like a fool. All right. It just is what it is. So with that being said, life update. I just told you I'm going over or getting past the vacation woes. So we just going to get straight into street talk.
Yeah, what's going on? Let me know.
So last week we didn't get a chance to talk about what was going on in the hot topic. So I left a lot of things on the plate. But today I want to talk in particular about the Braxton's niece. Now, everybody knows Toni Braxton, Tamar Braxton, Trina, all of them. I don't know if you watch their reality show, but you definitely know Toni Braxton. You know, the Unbreak My Heart, Toni Braxton. She has a lot of sisters. One recently passed away. I think that was Tracy, but she also has one brother that they rarely talk about, but you did get to see him if you watch their reality show. He has a daughter, and his daughter recently came out and said, I think she did it on her platform, like one of her social media platforms. However, y'all know how Shade Room and all of those do. They picked it up. And she said that one of her auntie's husband tried to talk to her and sent her these inappropriate messages. Well, I think she told the aunt and also her father, and the aunt thanked her for letting her know what was going on, saw the messages and said she would handle it. But by handling it, I guess what happened was the aunt stopped talking to her, and I'm assuming still was with the husband. So now the internet is speculating that it was Trina, because they said she told or said it was Trina on, I don't know, TikTok or something. I can't remember, but they said that she told who it was. So I don't know. I don't know if that's the auntie. All I know is that that's what happened. And so it led me to want to have a conversation about it. And I encouraged you all prior to me coming back from my little vacation or hiatus and starting this new season to go back and listen to some of my old shows. And in one series of my old shows, I talked about sexual abuse. I am very familiar with that topic, unfortunately. And that exact same thing has happened to me, and not just with one uncle. It's happened pretty much my entire life. And it is one of those things where you want to tell, but then you don't necessarily know what will happen if you do tell. So in my case, it got outed by one of my other cousins, which the same thing was happening to her, by the way. So what my uncles would do, and these weren't my biological uncles. I have only a few of those. My mom has a lot of sisters. So these would have been my auntie's husband. Same situation like this young lady. Some of them weren't the father of my first cousins, and some of them were. Okay. But mainly they weren't. These were husbands that my aunties got together after they've had their kids and they're with somebody new. There was only one uncle in particular that was the father of one of my cousins that would say inappropriate things to me. And by inappropriate, I mean nasty. Okay. And I don't even like using the P word, like P-U-S-S-Y. I don't know. The word just sounds gross. It makes me cringe when I say the word out loud. But anyway, he would say stuff like, I bet that P pink. Ooh, I bet that thing good. I bet it's tight. Blah, blah, blah. Now, mind you, I am probably like 14, 15 years old. And well, let's back up. 13, 14, 15. I was a little, and this was continuing to happen. Now, miraculously, nobody tried this when I got old. You would think that if you've been nasty and freaky deaky enough to mention those things to me as a child, you would still be trying to shoot your shot as a grown man. But them dudes can't even look me in my face as a grown woman. Believe it or not. So I understand when people say that older men prey on young girls, because them boys, they ain't boys. Well, they might as well be boys the way they behaved. Cannot look me in my face. And if they do, it's still on some more like, hey, like respect, right? So this particular time, my cousin and I, we're about the same age. We're about 11 months apart. So she's a little older than I am. And we both had babies young. I had my daughter at 12. She had her son at 13. So we were both young moms. She ended up having 2 children. She had her daughter after her son. She had her daughter, I want to say she was like 15. So she had kind of like back-to-back kids, 15 or 16. I want to say it was 15. Either way, she had back-to-back children. But this was when we both just had one child. And she and I went to talk about our experiences with dealing with older men being inappropriate with us. And she lived in a 2-bedroom house with her parents, father and mother. Now, they were the partying type. So it was always a Friday night. The turn up was at their house. That was my favorite cousin's house to go to because they had everything. The Nintendo, they had cable. Like, again, it was the turn up house, but it was also the turn up house for adults. So on the weekends, they played cards in the kitchen. They were drinking, smoking weed, like music going. But again, this is a 2-bedroom house. And in the 2-bedroom house, in order to get to the restroom, you had to go through the kids' room. And it was her and her brother. They're not twins, but they, again, are a few months apart. He's a little younger. Same thing, about a year apart. And they had the bunk beds broken down. So each bed was on each side of the room. The room was split. One bed on the left, one bed on the right. And then straight down the middle was nothing but a piece of carpet because that was the pathway to the restroom. So my cousin would tell me as her parents would have these parties and these men would have to go to the bathroom, they would touch her inappropriately and try to rock up on her. And so I shared my experience and was like, okay. And then she said that one, which wasn't our uncle, but it was our uncle's brother. So our auntie's boyfriend, because they never married, his brother, she said, raped her. Now, that's what she told me. And I just told her my experience. Yo, this uncle has been saying these things to me. This person says this thing to me, that sort of thing. And I left it as is just because this was my favorite cousin. So I'm just thinking, okay, we just talking. Y'all, I was at the local grocery store in my neighborhood because we lived in an area where you could just walk to the grocery store. And this was way back in the day where they still had payphones in front of the grocery store. That's why I'm telling you, I was very young. So I was going to the store to use a payphone to call somebody back. I don't know if I got a page or whatever it was, but I was going to return a call. So I go to the payphone. I'm using the payphone. And one of the aunts whose husband was telling me stuff like, I bet that P tight. She pulled up on me while I was at the store in front on the phone and was just like, bitch, I'll beat your ass. You around here trying to mess with and she called his name. And I was like, no, what are you talking about? And she was like, yeah, so-and-so told me, meaning my cousin told her. And I was like, that's not true. That's not what happened. She said he says that stuff to her and that this happened. And yes, he did it, but I ain't never talked to him, blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, when I say she's like up on me, she in my face. She like, this ain't my aunt. Like, this some street chick. And I was talking to her husband. It just so happened my other auntie pulled up. I don't know if my other aunt said, follow me, y'all, with this aunt. I don't know if Aunt 1 told Aunt 2 that she was coming to approach me, but I know Aunt 2 pulled up on that ass, okay? And she was like, if you don't get out, our niece's face, you don't get out of Londa's face. Like, are you serious right now? That's a child. You don't ever confront no child on that no grown man did. Like, are you out your mind? So, like, she interfered and shut that shit down quick, okay? Yes, me and my aunt continue to talk after that. God rest her soul. She is since passed away. I gave the eulogy speech at her funeral, and no hard feelings, but it was something that I had to swallow because, again, it happened to me. I was a victim, but I got treated as though I did something wrong. So I can't say that she moved different with me and stopped talking to me because my aunt checked her and my other aunt checked her and put her in her place. And I don't even know if she ever said something to her long-term boyfriend. All I know is I got checked. And that kind of stuff will continue to happen. I had another aunt who, at this point, I was in college. So I was having car issues and transportation issues getting back and forth to school. And her boyfriend offered to take me to my classes. And so, of course, I'm not going to say no. I need a ride to school. And of course, as we were going to school, he would make advances at me. I'll take care of you. If you need anything, you just need to let me know. You know what I'm saying? I can beat, and I know what that means. I ain't slow. You know what I'm saying? He never said, I'll pay for the, what. But that's what he was getting along. Like, hey, I'll do anything for you if you just do something for me. You know what I'm saying? I knew what he meant. But it wasn't like the nasty talk when I was younger that these uncles would do. Now, you know what happens when you tell a story, now you recall what actually happened. It was him that told me he couldn't take me no more. That's exactly what happened. When I reached out and said, hey, I need a ride, he said, yeah, your aunt said that I can't take you anymore for whatever reason. She think that we got something going on. That's what he said. So that tells me that he was coming back home guilty as though he had done something because he know he'd been wrong for trying to push up on me. But nothing ever happened. I never even entertained that man. I just was trying to get a ride. And over the years, because of my abuse, I learned to just get along. And I don't make a big fuss about things because I realize even with the situation with my aunt, it just makes the situation worse when you say something about it. Am I wrong for that? Was I wrong for that? I don't know. All I know is that I was a young girl and I had already been traumatized by these older men saying things and being inappropriate. So I just didn't like to be seen as that girl that my aunties and other people thought was just this girl that would do that kind of stuff. And I had been experiencing that because I had a child young. So no matter if it was a guy I dated, no matter if it were somebody who was interested in me or my uncles, whatever, they always saw me as the fast girl. I was a fast girl because I had a child. And I just didn't like that. I just felt like, how is it that I experienced one thing in my life and then all of a sudden I'm the hot girl? And if you didn't know, I got pregnant the very first time I had sex. So this wasn't like I was turning up and all of a sudden I got pregnant by having these multiple partners. I had sex from peer pressure, ended up being pregnant. Now, did I continue to have sex after that? Yes. Because at that point, like I said, I had been being treated like a slut bucket pretty much. And I was confused by it. I didn't know that these guys were talking to me because they wanted to smash. I just thought, oh my God, these guys are interested in me. So, of course, I was interested back. And then, of course, it led to them wanting to have sex and then me realizing, oh, they trying to play this game because what they know with me having a baby is that I will have sex. So that, especially boys my age, what young boy who want to get their stuff wet to see what it's all about wouldn't entertain a girl that they already know is having sex. So that was kind of the tale of my life. So with me doing that, I just wanted to be, because if I didn't have a baby, I don't think that those men would have said that to me. I also don't think that my aunties would have even assumed that their husbands or boyfriends were trying to say something to me because they wouldn't have looked at me or viewed me in that way. But because I did have a child, then it was a negative stigma around my life, my entire life, even to this day, and everything that I've overcome, and me being married and only having 2 children. And I married the father of my second child. People still, if I say how old my daughter is and I say how old I am, woo, it's just like I get this look like, what? Oh, you were fast, huh? Oh, you was in them streets, huh? Like they will make a comment at my grown age of 44. And normally I don't tell my age. Most people assume that I'm young. And when they find out that I'm a little older, it's like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. But it is when I say that I have a 31-year-old that they say, well, how old are you? And then when I say my age or they find it out, it's like, oh, what were you doing? You see what I'm saying? And it's automatic judgment. So I don't know. I normally don't say my age. I do tell my daughter's age because I do have a grandchild. She's 9. And I don't want them looking at my daughter like she been a fast one because she had her child at 21. So that ain't been the case whatsoever. So I try to at least make sure she stays with a clean image. And they've already told me I better not ever have no more kids because my little baby, my little granddaughter cannot have a uncle or auntie that is younger than her. So she already has a 15-year-old uncle. She ain't trying to have no auntie or uncle younger than her. So it is what it is. But with that in mind and leading into what I want to discuss today, the idea that I wanted to be in a different world. Because I was viewed this way, I made it my mission to try to figure out how can I present myself differently to the world? What is it that I can do to make sure that people didn't view me like this? Like, how can I get out of this stigma? What is it that I could do? And I just went on with my goals that I had in life and the goals that I wanted to do. Okay, well, you want to be a school counselor. And I didn't really want to be a school counselor. I wanted to be a counselor in general of adolescents. I felt like if somebody could have spoke to me when I was an adolescent, I would have made better decisions. And I felt like that was the peak time where you can go left or right. Like you either good or bad at that point, because those were the times that I was making all the effed up decisions was when I was like, well, younger than 15, but you get what I'm saying. Like my preteen and teenage years, I was just reckless. And if somebody could have said, oh, yo, slow down, it would have been better. Now, you would have thought that somebody having a child at that young, that I would have had plenty of people trying to sit me down to figure out what was going on with me. But when I tell you no grown person in like at school or anything was just like, yo, is everything okay? I was 11 when I got pregnant. You would have thought the school would have pulled me aside to be like, let's investigate, make sure who's the father. Nothing, was no incest or any type of rape or anything like that. Ain't nobody asked me a thing, except for one of my teachers who was very concerned and would stop the people from trying to bully me and ask me a whole bunch of questions when I got to class. Fast forward years later, I ended up working with that same teacher and was crying at a faculty meeting one time about what she did for me when I was in middle school and how I will appreciate her and forever be grateful. She's since retired, but I already had my moment with that teacher. Okay, as a grown woman, fast forward into me being a counselor at the school where she still teaches. So anyway, I wanted to change me. And I know that some people think that that's hard. Like when somebody sees you as this certain person, looks at you in a certain light, you have a certain image, or people portray you this way in your community, at your job, wherever, your family, that you can't change that perception that they have about you. But I don't think that that's true. And one example of that is, I don't know who all watched The Forge, but I watched The Forge because I was on break for 2 weeks and I needed stuff to watch. And The Forge, yes, it was a religious movie, but it was pretty much that, the mom was praying that this little boy got himself together, and he met somebody who was a mentor to him, who also he was trying to get a job from. But the man said, sure, I'll hire you if you allow me to mentor you for at least an hour or two before work. The guy was what he would call a disciple, and I think that's what it was. Don't quote me, y'all. And he was speaking about the gospel, but more so about life stuff in general. He threw Bible quotes in there to back up what he stated, but it was really just to motivate the young man to do better in life and how to prepare himself into manhood and to be a better man and be about your word and blah, blah, blah. Well, that mentorship with that man for this young boy, I think he had just graduated high school, so he had to be like 19, 20, something like that. Well, anyway, it ended up changing him in his perspective and how he saw things. And it also changed how people saw him. So in the beginning of the movie, when it started, he stopped at a coffee shop because he saw this young girl working in there that he thought was fly, and he tried to holler at her. Well, he had a baseball cap on, street clothes. Yo, mom, what's up? She said, do you want coffee? He's like, nah, I'm trying to get your number. The man comes out the back like, yo, sir, can I help you? He's like, nah, I don't got nothing to say to you. I'm trying to like talk to her. Like, could you leave me alone? Like, get out my face type vibes. And so the man ended up ended up asking him to leave the coffee shop. And so he left on some old disrespectful stuff like, man, forget you. I'm out. And you ain't got to worry about me coming back here. Fast forward after he had gained his religion, and after he was just now an upstanding young man working, helping his mom out, he came back to that same coffee shop, introduced himself to the man, and said, I was here a while ago. I was very disrespectful. And the man was like, I don't think I've ever met you before. And he was like, oh yeah, you met me before. And I just want to apologize for my behavior. That man didn't even remember who he was. But I promise you, had he came back in there with that same attitude, that same street clothes, that same demeanor, it would have jogged that man's memory and be like, wait a minute, is this the same dude? Didn't I tell you not to come back here? But he didn't even recognize the dude. He didn't look any different. I mean, he was dressed different. He had on like a polo button down shirt and then some, I don't remember if it was khakis or jeans, but either way, he didn't have on like street attire. He looked as though he worked somewhere. So the man didn't know. The young lady was impressed. She was looking like, whoa. The ladies in the coffee shop was just like, you don't see that every day. So he was able to change how people saw him, how he presented himself to the world just by changing his mindset. So I just want to encourage you all today, because frankly, the fact of the matter is you can be and do whatever it is that you want to do. You don't have to move to another city to change your life, to have a different experience in life. You can change you and have a different experience in life. You can be in your same city. You can be with your same friends. You can be in the same family, obviously. And if you change your perspective and how you see things and you improve who you are and you really do the work on yourself, people will start to treat you different. You will start to see things differently, and your whole experience in life will be different. And it will feel like you done moved somewhere else and you started over fresh. Now, do that take more work than just moving? Absolutely. But if somebody would have told me I would have been working in the same city that I grew up in, where everybody thought I was just this fast girl that had a baby in middle school, I would tell you that ain't gonna happen, because people not gonna respect me and they gonna see me like, how can you counsel my students when you done did all this stuff in your life? Well, that don't happen to me, baby. I can tell you that. Now, when I first started working, I did get a couple of kids who were like, oh, my uncle said he know you. He said you was ghetto and you was this. Yeah, man, I was a hood rat, hoochie mama. However, I was young and I had no guidance, and I was able to do kind of what I wanted to do. We'll get into that another day, okay? But I wanted to do better. I knew that if I did not change how I was behaving and what I was doing, that I wasn't going to be able to accomplish the things that I wanted. And how did I know I wanted these things? Because like I tell my kids when they always tell me, oh, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to be. What is it that you daydream about? Because we all daydream. When you get in your little zone and you're daydreaming about your future and what your future holds and who you're going to be in the future and what type of car you're going to drive in your house, all those things we daydream about all the time. Who our husband going to be, blah, 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 blah. In order for you to attain those things you daydream about, you got to change something about yourself. So hold on to that daydream and make it a reality, because it's possible, but you got to be disciplined. You ain't got to be smart. You got to be disciplined. Are you disciplined enough to do the things that you said you want to do? Right? Like the diet we said, man, my thighs hurt now. I'm trying to practice my own discipline that I used to have. My thighs hurt because I'm committed to losing this weight. I'm committed to gaining some muscle. So me and my son did what we said we were going to do, and we've been working out together, and I can feel the results of me working out. So I've been trying to be consistent and discipline myself, because that's what's going to get you the results. If you're not disciplined and you're not going to be consistent, then it won't happen. But stop thinking that you got to change your whole life around in order for you to have different results or experience different things in your life. You just got to change yourself sometimes. And I know we think like, I'm going to just be who I am. I don't care what nobody say. I don't care what people think about me. Perception and perspective is reality. At the end of the day, people will look at you and they will judge you based on what they see. That's just fact. It may not be what we want to hear. It may not be fair, but that is reality. And you fooling yourself if you don't think that, because we all do the same thing. Why she dressed like that? Listen, I just judged a pastor. We were just recently at a funeral, and this pastor came in. She was late. And when I tell you this pastor wears a Louis Vuitton platform heel shoes, I'm serious. The platforms that strippers wear, not just a regular Louis Vuitton, it's the platforms that strippers wear. So that extremely high heel with the platform toe. She had that on with a super tight dress. When I say super tight, I mean like a button about to pop off the front tight. Okay. And her hair is always ghetto fabulous. Okay. Now, yes, I judge when I see her because who knows that you're a pastor. And I'm not saying a pastor can't be saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost and dressed like that. But automatically what I think of her is not that she's a pastor. And I always have to remind myself, oh yeah, this lady is a pastor and she married. So it's not like she out here thotting and bopping. But the way she presents herself doesn't say that I am a woman of God. It just isn't. Now, it could be a person that isn't a woman of God that's dressed with a shirt, but like me, I got on a turtleneck right now. Okay. I look holier than thou. And I got my little old lady finger waves in. You cannot tell me I'm not giving church mother vibes. Matter of fact, I remember my kids saying that I give them church mama vibes. I was like, me? Out of all people, give you church lady vibes? They said I do. Now, I was happy and I wasn't happy because I still like to think that I got it. But that's not what the kids see of me. They see the way I dress. They see the way I wear my hair. And they just assume that, and I talk like this, the same way I'm talking to you all. I don't put on airs for my kids. I'm having the same conversation. Obviously, I don't cuss and I don't go into all my life details. But what I'm saying is my cadence, my tone, the way I'm speaking. I don't put on my call center voice. I don't put on a code switch and put on a different voice for the kids. This is how I speak to them because that's the population that I'm servicing. Had I been somewhere else and I needed to change up, then honey, I would. But that is not where I'm at. So I was shocked, but I was proud of myself because remember, I was the hood rat hoochie mama who wanted to change her image and I was able to do that. So now am I not still the same girl? Absolutely. Deep down, I'll always be that girl. But at some point we got to grow and at some point we have to evolve. And if that's not what you're trying to do, then people will forever look at you as what you present as. And if that's not how you want to be perceived, if you know you're not being respected, then you got to change all of that. And it ain't hard. And that, like I said, I think on an episode before, I was just like, you need to do the job that you were hired to be or be the person they hired you to be. They ain't hired me to be a fashionista at the job. They hired me to look professional, to be professional, to talk to the kids and to do whatever I'm there to do. So who gives a good goddamn what I wear? And I definitely ain't there to impress nobody. I got a man at the house. So I'm not coming dressed and I don't compete with other women. I don't care what another woman is wearing. They ain't got nothing to do with me. As long as I look good to myself and I feel good, that's all that matters. But if you are struggling again with not seeing yourself as where you want to be or other people don't see it and you want to be seen in a different light or respected or you want a man to value you for what you can bring to the table, you got to change something about you. And I don't know what that thing is, but I ain't gonna say what man told me this, but I know a particular guy in my life. I know a man that has said to me that the reason why he didn't want to marry a woman is because she does not have the settled down quality. There's a lot of things about herself that he wants her to change, mainly like the people she hang with, how she hangs out and how she enjoys herself, like partying, smoking, drinking, that sort of thing. That man may talk to you. He may even fall in love with you. But if he is attaching your image to his image and how people are going to see him, which most men do, then no, man. No, because he's thinking just like we think, because we think the same thing. Oh, we can change him when we get with him. So it's not like men don't think that either. Oh my God, this is a dope girl. We can vibe. We down to earth, but I don't like the fact that she smoke. So what can I do to, maybe if I talk to her and I let her know like, yo, I don't really like the smoke and she'll do it for me. And then when you find out she won't do it for you, then your holding back is, well, I can't take this to the next level because I just can't get past the thing. You get what I'm saying? And now I get to say this is a girlfriend and I don't get to say that this is a wife. Same thing with us. I couldn't see myself with a man that didn't know how to articulate his thoughts. That to me is high value. Like high value man is intelligence and a sense of humor. That's high value for me. If I take you somewhere, I like for my men to be able to shut somebody down just with their mere mind. Like I don't need you to physically fight. I want to be like, damn, that nigga's smart. Sorry, I said I wasn't going to say the N-word on here. I apologize. I try my best not to use the N-word. Anyway, That's what I want. I want them to think like, whoa, and that's my husband. I always tell him he's Jeopardy smart because that's what I like. I want you to bring out the best in me. I need somebody that's going to challenge me, that's going to help me to elevate, to help me reach my goals and dreams. I don't have time to pull nobody up. I need us to be equally yoked, or I need you to be able to pull me up a smidget. You get what I'm saying? You got to have a little foundation. You can't just come from the zero and expect for somebody to bring you up. So know already what you need to work on yourself, and you know it. You do. But if you don't know it, you need to ask a homeboy. You need to ask a homeboy or somebody you done made your homeboy because y'all used to date, y'all don't date no more. What's your problem? I mean, what he feels like you need to work on. Same thing with a man. You need to ask your homegirl, the girl, your baby mama that you're friendly with now or whatever. And you need to ask, what is it that is your thing? What is it that you need to work on? You can ask your favorite cousin. You can ask your mama. She know too what your attitude is. And again, we got to stop with the idea that I am who I am. You know how I am. It is what it is. I'm going to be this. Then that is that thing right there that's stopping you from moving to whatever that next level is that you're trying to go to. So check yourself. Moral of the story, frankly, the fact of the matter. Check yourself and align yourself with your goals and address the issues so that you can reach those goals. That's it. That's what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? So I hope that helped y'all. You know, I'm 30 minutes and done. But I do want to remind you, if y'all want to see me for whatever reason, or if you like to look at stuff and just look at it transcribe itself and read what I'm saying, check out the YouTube channel. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't. Please follow me on all the platforms. You know, I got to get those plugs. And until next week, y'all, I'll holla. Bye.